Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make zucchini fritters, which are just a really fun, crowd-pleasing dish that's really easy. You can throw in, it's a good way to use up zucchini or patty pan squash. You can also throw in so many other odds and ends, like onions or cilantro or parsley. So I'm using a shredder attachment on a food processor. We're basically going to be grating them, so just make sure you cut your squash into small enough pieces that it'll fit down the little tube. And then always make sure you use the plunger to push everything down, because you don't want to, grate part of your finger off or anything by accident. You can also use a box grater, which works just as well. What we're going to end up doing is salting it and drawing out the moisture, and the zucchini is going to be the base for the entire fritter. So I used 2 patty pans and 2 zucchinis. You're going to shoot for about 1.5 pounds of zucchini total. Then take 2 teaspoons and sprinkle it all over. And you're going to mix it in really well with your hands. This will help break down the zucchini and draw out a bunch of the water that's inside of it. Let it sit for 10 minutes. You'll be amazed how much water comes out of the zucchini. In the meantime, we're going to make the other part of our batter, which is flour. So I used about 1.5 cups flour for those 4 zucchinis I had. Then add your baking powder, which will give it a little bit of fluffiness. It only needs 1 egg. You can do more egg if you'd like. It'll just be a little chewier and eggier of a fritter. But for me, I feel like 1 is enough to just bind everything together. And then I wanted to add some scallion because I had some. So I chopped up about 1 cup of scallion, and you can throw that right into your flour mixture. At this point, you could really use some creativity. You could put in corn or kale or Swiss chard. Anything you want to add to the fritter, as long as it's small enough to cook along with the shredded zucchini. So drain all the water that comes out of your zucchini, and then just take about a handful at a time and just kind of gently squeeze it, and tons of water will come out. You just want to get most of this water out so that your batter doesn't get really, really soggy. Then you'll have to add more flour, and it'll just be a whole mess. So once all your zucchini has had most of its water squeezed out, the best way is to just use a glove or your hand and mix together the flour batter. And you can set that aside to rest. In the meantime, we're going to make a tomato chutney. So it's basically vinegared tomato sauce. So in a pot, get your vinegar, your sugar, and I went with warm spices like ginger and coriander. And I'm going to use 1 pint of cherry tomatoes. Basically, you want to blister the cherry tomatoes in a hot pan. The skins will slowly start to break down, and they'll start to release some of their juices. It probably takes about 10 minutes in total. Just be patient. Sprinkle a little bit of salt on them, and then once they start to get kind of wrinkly and soft, so you can dump them in a bowl and set them aside. And then you can boil down your vinegar solution. So basically, you're going to start with your cup of vinegar and boil it down to almost like a thick syrup. You see it's darkened, and now it's less than half than what it used to be. At that point, add in your mashed cherry tomatoes. Mashing them just helps release more of the juices. And at this point, I like to cook it down for another maybe 10 minutes or so, just to really thicken it up so it's a nice spoonable sauce. But you can make it as thick or thin as your personal preference. Just be careful not to burn it, because there is a good amount of sugar. So set that aside, and it'll be time to cook our fritters. So the batter should have been sitting for a couple minutes. You'll be able to see what the consistency is. It should kind of hold together, sort of like mashed potatoes. So take a good spoonful and lay it in a good amount of oil in a medium hot pan, and just kind of flatten it down. You want it to be about 1/2 inch thick. Any thicker, and you'll have to take a long time cooking it. So anywhere between like 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch will work really well. It tends to take about 3 minutes per side. And definitely don't skimp on the oil, or you'll have some sticking problems. But once they're nice and golden brown, flip them, cook them for another 2 or 3 minutes. And just repeat the process until all of your fritters are done. So once they're all crispy, go ahead and put them on a plate. And you can continue cooking the rest of your batter until it's all gone. I'll just show you how I like to plate mine up. So I'll like kind of layer 3 of them on a plate and dollop a good amount of tomato chutney on top. And then I like to put on some sort of cheese, or maybe sour cream would be good, or yogurt. I happen to have feta cheese with me at the time, which goes really well, so I sprinkle some cheese on there, and I toasted up some pumpkin seeds for a little bit of crunch. Maybe some toasted nuts would also be nice. And then I also put some fresh scallion on top. So this is really fun and easy to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks.